of the Greater Boston League. So they have a pretty good quarterback in Brandon Hare. He's a fine athlete. He's an excellent baseball prospect, and I think that Brockton will have its work cut out for a limited time today. I think after a while, as we mentioned in the pregame show, Jim, the Brockton speed and the Brockton strength will just overcome Newton, and I'm not being overly Brocktonian in my opinion. I'm trying to be very objective, and I don't see how Newton can stay with Brockton for more than a period and a half.
Well, the key today, of course, don't get hurt. We don't need any more injuries as we move into the final weeks of the season. Nobody wants to see that. The one thing about the Newton record that we should mention, too, from one side, they haven't beaten many very good teams with those 5 wins, but from the Brockton point of view, it doesn't matter. They got 5 wins, and that's 5 wins that'll help them in the Super Bowl ratings and help keep them at the top where they are now, providing the Boxers keep on winning. And watching the other teams, the Wellesleys, Woburns, Winchesters, and Walpoles, and all the other W's.
Incidentally, Tim, a BC High won last night, and that's a plus for Brockton.
The other W's.
Incidentally, Tim, a BC High won last night, and that's a plus for Brockton.
The national anthem and for our strong offensive line with Lewis, Latimer, Drukas, Giannakoulis, and Grind. They've done an excellent job all season long opening up holes for these guys. The backfield, led by quarterback Bob Zarinskas, who was awarded the Channel 5 WCBB TV High 5 Award as the Player of the Week after his 3 touchdown passes against Leominster last week. Comer, Campbell, and Williams. Anthony Comer, I believe, still the leading scorer in Division I in Eastern Mass. Jay Bursey caught 2 touchdown passes last week from the tight end position. And Steven Marciano, the wide receiver, who will also see action on defense. The defense that will be trying to stop the Brockton offense, led by a couple of brothers, the Rattas. Mike and Dave are the linebackers, but looking at the line first, John Adams, number 23, and Dave Ledger, 55, are your defensive ends. Tim Champagne and Mike Bauer, the tackles, and Brett Bowerly at nose guard. The Ratta brothers in the middle there, 50 and 42, Mike and Dave. David Quinn does double duty, number 22 at safety, along with Rich Ledger. Jason Fletcher and Ted Delicandro are the cornerbacks. Last year, Newton was led by an offense that really struggled to get points on the board. They had Joe DiNucci in the backfield, but not much of a quarterback to work with. That's changed this year somewhat. The line up front with Glantz, Tony Hume, Kamau Harris, Mike Bauer, and Mike Ratta playing both ways. And in the backfield, Colin Casey will do the job most of the time at tight end. John Freitas split end. David Lewis and David Quinn, the halfbacks. David Ratta, the fullback. And Brendan Hare, the quarterback. Hare split duty with, I believe, Quinn last year. Split hairs. That's good. Bob Ritchie, our director, picked up on that one. Split the duty at quarterback with David Ratta, with David Quinn. Neither one had seen a lot of action. They were both pretty young and inexperienced, and neither of them terribly big. And Newton struggled there last year, but Hare has stepped into the quarterback spot and has led his team to 5 victories. The defensive line of Brockton that will be trying to get after Brandon Hare and his backfield mates. Chris Campbell at defensive end most of the time. At the other side, Leonard Reedus will be doing a lot of filling in for Eric Drukas today. Leonard's played a lot in the defensive backfield, and he'll move up to the end spot, which is very important in the Brockton defensive setup. Kilsby, Grind, and Lewis. You'll also see John Bailey quite a bit, and Jeff Kogel doing their usual outstanding job. Backed up by Bursey and Bertarelli, the Killer Bees at linebacker, Steve Marciano, Anthony Comer, Adam Williams, and Jim Butler. Most of the action out in the defensive secondary. You'll also see some work from Derek Pagone and Andrew Murphy. Murphy and others. It's been a versatile and deep defense for Brockton all season.
We're talking to the Newton North coach, Jim, before the game, Coach Peter Capodilupo, and of course he comes down here and he's crying, not crying, I don't like to use that word, but he knows that Brockton is a strong team. Probably this is by far, in his opinion, the strongest team that Newton North has played this year, and I obviously agree with him, and I think everybody would agree with him. He's started telling me how his boys are small and they don't have a lot of size, and of course that's the lament of coach after coach, week after week, throughout the country, not just here in Brockton or just here in Massachusetts. But he is talking about hoping we can keep the score down. Of course, he knows he's talking to a Brockton fan as well as a Brockton broadcaster or a telecaster, whatever we call ourselves here, Tim. And he wasn't overly enthusiastic, and frankly, I share his feeling. Anything can happen, as we know. Armin Colombo, the Brockton coach, has said many times that every year he's had a successful season. There's always one game against a team that you don't expect much from that suddenly surprises you. And of course, he has done his best to keep the Brockton boys, along with, Coach Mike Hancock and Tony Gonzalez and Dave Foringham and Billy Devin, to keep the boys up. Don't let them get that letdown, because the mental attitude in any sport, and specifically and particularly in football, it can be a killer. The wrong mental attitude can be a killer, and the right mental attitude can be so much. But they have such leadership on this Brockton team, Tim. The captains, Bob Zerinska, Steve Marciano, Anthony Lewis, they're David Bryan. They're all leaders in their own right, and they've done a wonderful job in leading Brockton thus far this year to an undefeated season. And of course, everybody here in Brockton is looking forward to Brockton winning the remaining 3 games. And of course, only time will give us the answer to that. But of course, in the 3 remaining games, or I should say, when they're watching this, there are 2 remaining games. Brockton will always be the heavy favorite because of their reputation, ranked nationally, and the fact, frankly, they've got one of the finest high school football teams I've seen in years. As a matter of fact, I think it's the finest football team I've ever seen as far as balance is concerned.
Well, they've certainly made it look easy at times during the season. If there has been one struggle or one subpar performance by the Boxers, perhaps that came in Cambridge a couple of weeks ago. They certainly won the game easily, but a very close game at that point. And certainly the quarterback from Cambridge, Bobby Mickle, had something to do with that. But we know that Armin Colombo was not terribly pleased with his team's performance after that game, and hoping that they can keep their attitude up. They certainly have been able to do that in the past. It's one of the strengths of this team, as well as the physical ability, is the concentration, the poise, and the dedication to the job they have to do.
Well, Brockton, they're taking the field. They're coming out of the locker room now, and Newton North is already on their side of the field. We'll be having a kickoff in the toss of the coin very, very shortly. Brockton, you can't really say too much about the attitude. We've said this before, and I know it may sound repetitive, but the attitude of any team, and again, Brockton, particularly football, is so important. It's just as important as physical conditioning, knowledge of the plays, respect for each other, respect for your opponent. And Brockton seems to have adopted an excellent attitude throughout the season. They don't take any team lightly, even though they have probably psychologically they could have a right to, but they don't relax. And that's because of the leadership that we mentioned with those co-captains and also the coaching staff.
Time for the toss of the coin at the center of the field. We'll turn that over to our boys down front so you can get a listen.
There's no conversation with the team in white. The same thing with the team in white. You talk to only your own teammates all day long. Is that clear? All right, who's going to call it? You are. There's a tail and there's a head. Nice and loud, nice in the air. He called heads, gentlemen. Take a look. It is a tail. You have won the toss, Captain. You're going to defer to the second half. Okay. Brockton has won the toss. Make your choice right now. You're going to take the football. What goal would you like to defend? All right, put your backs over there, please. Newton over here, please. We'll proceed. Guys, take
That's exactly what happened, Charlie. The Boxers winning the toss, as you heard. but gave Newton the choice of how they wanted to handle things. So we're getting set to get underway. The captains for Newton that you saw out there, the Ratas, David and Mike, 42 and 50, Mike Bauer, number 53, and a receiver who's not in the starting lineup, George Jalakis, number 82. A lot of brother combinations on this Newton team that we'll have to keep our first names straight. Led by Brandon Hare, the quarterback. The Newton North Tigers coming in with a 5-2 record against the undefeated Brockton Boxers.
There's a boy on the field for Newton, number 6, but he's not listed on their roster, but he's a heavyweight in every sense of the word.
He certainly is.
He's about, I'd say, 5'10" tops. It looks like he weighs about 350 pounds, minimum.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good estimation. Don't know if we'll see much action from that young man this afternoon.
Well, I think his agility would be somewhat limited with that type of physique. I'm sure he participates to the best of his ability. And, well, we're ready for the kickoff, and Jim Butler's coming up.
David Quinn back in the middle, number 22 for Newton. Back with him, number 4, David Lewis, and number 8 is Richie Ledger. They're trying to receive the kick from Jim Butler, and the Boxers a little slow in getting started as the Newton North Band tries to pump things up a bit. We are underway from Marciano Stadium. This will be Quinn in the middle, takes it at his own 13-yard line, gets out past the 25, and is brought down by Leonard Reedus and others at the 28-yard line. And that's where Newton will start out 1st and 10.
That was a typical Brockton defensive play. Leonard Reedus was the initial contact, and then there were 4 other black jerseys that just swarmed in on Mr. Quinn, and now Newton has a first down, their own territory, just over the 28-yard line.
Again, Brendan Hare leading the offense. He'll have Quinn behind him, along with David Lewis, number 4, and the fullback, David Rada. They go with the full house backfield, and right away, Hare wants to throw. Bailey trying to get on him as Hare rolls out to the right. Kogel chases him down. The pass is in the hands of Richie Ledger, but he drops it and then is dropped on the play, so it'll be 2nd down and 10.
That pass should have been completed. Brandon threw a fine pass to Richie, and it just went through his hands. So it'll be a 2nd and 10 for Newton. The clock is stopped. We're playing 11-minute periods again today, Tim, and there's 10:46 after the first play from scrimmage after the return of the kickoff.
Quinn checks out. Ledger comes wide to the left side, and with the fullback Rada behind him, he'll get the call. Rada going out across to the 30-yard line, picks up about 2. Bertarelli, Kogel, and also Kilsby on the stop.
It looked like Rada slipped on that, although the field looks like it's in excellent condition. We had a lot of rain here this week, as we know, Tim, and we have a 3rd down situation for Newton. It could be a passing down for them.
Checking out before the game, the turf is a bit soft, but certainly not as bad as you might expect after all the rain that we did have a couple of days ago. So the 3rd and long situation with 10:13 to play in the first quarter, and Hare will roll right. Bailey in pursuit, now the option, and nowhere to go for David Lewis. He is hit right at the line of scrimmage by Jim Butler, and it'll be a punting situation for the Tigers.
And as we know, Brockton will have Anthony Comer and Stephen Marciano deep to return this punt, and this is always an exciting play. You don't know who's going to get the ball, even regardless who catches the punt. He may hand off and may not hand off, and Brockton will receive the ball in excellent field position regardless of where they return it.
Comer and Marciano are back for the kick of David Quinn, and the Boxers will go for the block, go for the return rather, as Marciano watches the ball go out of bounds near the 37-yard line of Brockton, and as many teams have done, Newton chooses to kick the ball away from the receivers. It reminds me, to use another baseball analogy, when Dwight Evans was the best right fielder in baseball for the Red Sox and throwing runners out left and right, after a while teams started to catch on. Nobody ran against him. His assists went down, and we lost the opportunity to watch him in action, and that seems to be the case here too. Nobody wants to give Anthony Comer a chance to run with that ball.
Or Stephen Marciano, they're both outstanding punt returners, and Rob Brockton comes up with a full house backfield. Marciano split wide to the left.
And the first play from scrimmage for the Boxers from the 37-yard line. The give goes over the right side to Williams, and Adam Williams dragged down from behind at the 42, but not until he picks up the first down. Brett Bowerly, the nose tackle, chased him down. It'll be a first down right away for the Boxers.
Adam Williams showing his speed again, Tim. First down on the first play from scrimmage. That was good for about a 25-yard gain. Brockton is now in Newton North territory, and let's call it the 42-yard line. I think Coach Allen Colombo stick to his basic football plan today unless something happens, and frankly, I don't expect it to.
21-yard gain on the ground from Williams, and Comer gets the call but gets nowhere. Perhaps picked up a yard before being pushed backward by the inside part of that Newton line. In on the tackle, Doug Leone.
See, the Newton, the line was celebrating. They made a tackle, and I guess they're going to celebrate on something that basic. Sort of grasping a little bit for a straw here and there, Tim, but second and 10 for Brockton. Anthony picked up nothing on that. The Newton defense was looking for Anthony, and justifiably so. They key on him. There's a reason to.
8.5 minutes to play, same formation with the 3 in the back, and Campbell right up the middle and going down to the 22-yard line. Quinn trips him up there, but another first down and a gain of 20 for Chris Campbell.
Fine burst off tackle behind the blocking of Brian Drucas and Tom Latimer. The left side of that line has opened up many holes for these Brockton backs this year.
There's Campbell, as you said, right over the left side, and had the room that he needed to get the good acceleration. Opened himself up for that 20-yard gain. And the Boxers first and 10 at the 22-yard line of Newton and marching down the field systematically. Zerinskis on the option, tries to get outside, does, and Zerinskis out at the 9-yard line for another Brockton first down.
Looks like it'll be a first and goal for Brockton. They're inside the 10, and let's call it the 8-yard line almost. First and goal for Brockton. A nice run. He faked the pitch out. Bobby Zerinskis.
Looks like Zerinskis is going to pitch off here as he gets caught from behind by Brett Bowerly, but eludes the tackle and puts his head down.
You know, Bobby has developed into a strong runner where he just, Mr. Bauer should have had him in the backfield, but his stiff arm plus his strong legs, he got away from him and was able to run down and sprint out on some of the Newton secondary. First and goal for Brockton.
14-yard pickup for Zerinskis, and the Boxers have eaten up a lot of turf on their first 4 plays. The fake to Campbell, Zerinskis on the option, keeps it, gets inside the 5 and down at the 2-yard line. And Newton will call a timeout. As the Boxers get inside the 5, the Tigers will take timeout to decide who they'd like to key on.
Well, I don't know if that's going to help Newton at all. It gives Coach Allen Colombo time to discuss his offensive situation with Bob Zerinskis, the quarterback. And with a second and goal on just about the 2-yard line, Tim, as you mentioned, I don't know how it was said before, and I don't know how any team, any coach could defend this Brockton offense. It's just so multifaceted. It's just
I'm not sure.
Totally organized.
I'm not sure, Charlie, whether this was a set thing or what, that as soon as the tackle was made on Zerinskis, one of the Newton captains gave the timeout signal. It didn't look as if it was in response to anything other than the run.
Yeah, I don't know either, Tim. We can only speculate on that, but Brockton has a second and goal on the 2-yard line, and who do you give it to? Chris, Anthony, Adam, or does Bobby keep it himself?
Zerinskis has run the last 2. And they've got Peter Giannakoulis in the backfield to block for Campbell, and Campbell off one tackler and in for the touchdown. Chris Campbell goes in 2 yards, and the Boxers very quickly are on the board.
And now we have one of the interesting highlights of the Brockton High School football season, the consecutive point-after streak of Jim Butler.
I believe it's at 26 right now, Charlie.
I believe you're right. It's very impressive, whatever it is. And here we go for number 27.
Jim Butler has not missed on the season.
Rob Zerinskis holding.
And Butler's kick is good.
No good.
No good.
No good.
I'm
Just
sorry. Off to the left. And the streak comes to a close. So the Boxer lead will remain at 6, and Jim Butler, in the 7th game of the season, misses his first extra point. Here's the touchdown. Good work by Chris Campbell breaking that first tackle. He was hit pretty well by Mike Rada.
And Camus Harris had a shot at him too, but he just Again, it's the strong running, the strong legs, those track legs that Chris Campbell has developed. He barrels in there, as do the other Brockton backs. Chris is a little bit heavier than Anthony and Adam, and he may have a little bit more in his favor. However, I wouldn't say that any one back is better than the others. They're all three very outstanding high school football running backs. And Bob Zarinskas has come into his own as a running back also.
So Butler to kick off. He's been a busy man already with 7:36 to play. He's had 2 kickoffs and an extra point attempt. He will kick in the direction of Dave Lewis this time, who's in the middle. Quinn off to the left side and Ledger to the right. It'll be Richie Ledger who'll take it. Slips at the 13, but keeps his balance and now gets across the 25, across the 30, and taken down by Jeff Cogell and Leonard Reedus, Chris Campbell at the 33-yard line.
Leonard Reedus has a habit of getting in on those kickoff tackles. He's right on the play. Number 22, Leonard Reedus. And by the way, in the event that they have to put in another running back in place of Chris or Anthony or Adam, Leonard is a guy. He has exceptional speed himself, and it's very probable that on any other football team, Leonard would be a starting running back.
You see the Boxer setup with Bailey in the middle, Cogell, Kilsby, and Grind down there, Reedus at the end. So it is Cogell playing the right end position. And right up the middle goes Dave Lewis, hit hard after a gain of 1. He's not a big guy, Dave Lewis.
Is that Mike Bertorelli in that?
Wouldn't be surprised.
65.
Bertorelli, who has led the team in tackles all season long, puts one on the 5'7", 150-pound sophomore back. And Dave Lewis gets his bells rung on that carry. Gain of 2. It'll be a 2nd down and 8 from the 35-yard line. And back to throw goes Hare. He'll dump it out over the right side, intended for Ledger, and well overthrown with Comer on the coverage.
Well, again, this is a situation developed, and it's apparently developing earlier than usual, that the opponent, today Newton North, their offense can become quite predictable. They're not going to run against this Brockton line of Anthony Lewis and Peter Giannakoulis, John Bailey, and Brian Kilsby, Jeff Cogell. You're not going to run against them on a consistent basis. You may get an occasional run in there, but to do it regularly, Oscar Mercado.
Derek Fagone in as the 5th defensive back on the draw play, and nowhere to go as Giannakoulis comes up to stop Lewis. He wasn't fooled. No gain and a punting situation again for the Tigers. So it's been 3 and out both times for the Tigers thus far.
And now we have another punting situation, and let's see if Newton North punts it away from Marciano and Anthony Comer, Stephen Marciano and Anthony Comer.
There is a breeze blowing today. It's not gusty as it was here a few weeks ago, but there is a bit of a breeze which may affect the kicking game today, if nothing else. It's a straight-ahead kick down to Marciano. Kicked pretty well. Takes it at the 28. Fakes the give to Comer. Now goes to the left side. Marciano to the 40 and dropped there. Hit hard by the
well, that was a combination of the hit and slip, I think, Tim. He was cutting hard inside, and I think a little bit off balance, so it didn't take much of a hit to knock him down, because I think he was off balance from the slide. But it's the 1st down for Brockton. Oh, let's call it the 41, their own 41-yard line.
Boxer started with pretty good field position the last time after the punt at the 37-yard line, and right away Adam Williams pushed them into Newton territory with a 21-yard run. Chris Campbell added a 20-yard run. Bob Zarinskas 20 of his own on 2 carries, and that was the story. Chris Campbell finishing it off with a 2-yard touchdown.
Let's see if Coach Colombo goes for the run again. It may throw a pass. Sticking with the run. No.
The ball up. Marciano squares out to the right, takes it at midfield, and tries to fight off David Quinn. Never does get him down, but he's out of bounds at the 45-yard line of Newton for a 1st down.
He made it look so easy. He faked the handoff to the running back into the line, played it back, fell back. Marciano ran from the split end position out to the right, made a nice catch of a nice pass, picked up the 1st down, very easily knocked out of bounds. And incidentally, the Newton man, after Stephen was out of bounds, sort of took a little, like nothing real vicious, but took a little extra. But if we see it on replay, we'll see it.
We spotted it on that play. He didn't hit him after he went out, but he just didn't let go. David Quinn, the tackler. Gain of 13 on the play for Zarinskas and Marciano, and Adam Williams gets caught up trying to skip over the line.
I think he tried to jump over huge Anthony Lewis on that, and Anthony was putting his block in, and Adam was just a little bit too close. And It's tough to get over a big guy like Anthony Lewis, I know that. But it's a second down. We'll call it 8. It's about a 2-yard pickup for Brockton.
At the 44-yard line of Newton.
It appears that Brockton, I don't want to say they're controlling the game at this early stage. However, defensively, they've stopped Newton cold. Newton hasn't made a first down yet. Brockton has a touchdown, leading 6-0.
Zerenskas has thrown the ball just once. And now he rolls left with Williams as the option man, but Zerenskas will keep across the 40, the 35, and out of bounds without a tackle.
And he has the first down.
Another first down for Zerenskas down to the 32-yard line.
And that is just more evidence of the Brockton running attack. When they know that those 3 running backs in back of Bob can break the play in any place in the field at any given time, and he fakes to a couple of those guys, and the cornerbacks and the linebackers and whoever else go after Chris or go after Anthony or go after Adam, and then Bobby just decides to hold it. He picked up that first down very easily.
Well, I'll tell you, in the early going here, Bob Zerenskas right now the leading rusher for the Boxers, and they have 3 people in double figures, so it's no small feat. No reason why the Boxers won't keep the ball on the ground as long as they keep picking up chunks of yardage like this. And now they'll take a timeout.
Who was taking Anthony?
Leonard
going to the 3rd straight Division I title in Eastern Massachusetts. Exceptional record. 96-5.
95-5 over the last 100
in the last 100 games. Oh boy.
First and 10 for the Boxers from the 32. And Anthony Comer is stacked up quickly. Second time they've been able to stop him, and for the second time it is Brett Bowerly, the nose tackle, who does the job. So 54 has number 20's number so far.
It appears that Anthony Comer is drawing these people like a magnet. They're keying on at least 2 or 3 boys that are keying on Anthony, and I can understand why they do it. He's leading Division I scoring with, 16 touchdowns thus far, or 15 or 16 touchdowns?
16.
And he's broken away so frequently, and he probably will break away today. As I said, when you're watching this game, the game is over, you'll know exactly what Anthony's done. But we're predicting in advance, and it makes that position a little bit hairier.
On the 2nd and 9, Zerenskas looking for Marciano. He's got Quinn on him, and it'll be a tough catch. Not for Quinn, though. He's got the interception at the 3-yard line. Good coverage.
Fine defensive play by David Quinn. He had Stephen Marciano coming very well. The pass was just a little bit on the short side, and as a result, he played it beautifully. But Stephen Marciano very alertly tackled him right after he intercepted the pass. So they have a first down. Oh, I'd say it's inside their 5-yard line. We can call it the 5-yard line, but it's probably in about the 4 3/4 yard.
Well, the coverage was excellent. It's a risky play with Zerenskas throwing to Marciano as Quinn was right there with him, and since the ball was thrown to the outside, Quinn was on the outside. He had the better shot, and he pulled it down for the first turnover of the game. Bouncing back, it is the fullback Rata breaking tackles and out across the
a little bit of a late hit. Let's watch
line.
it, boys. Let's keep our tempers. Number, what's his number? 42.
That's David Rata.
Oh, somebody hit kind of late in there. After Rata was down, the whistle was blown, but nothing was called by the official. But we do have a 2nd and short, maybe less than 2 yards for a first down.
Out to the 13-yard line. Pickup of 8 on the play for the fullback Rata on a good effort.
They're in a position to make their first down of the afternoon, Tim.
Keep it on the ground, and the fullback again will be close to the first down.
It looks like it's going to be they're going to measure. The referee is calling for a measurement.
That is a stocky guy, not very tall, about 5'9", 190 pounds, puts on those big fullback shoulder pads and bowls his way out close to the 15-yard line where they needed to get for the first down.
Well, there's the measurement. He missed it by about 2 inches.
Literally inches short, as the official holds up his hand to indicate that it's about 2 inches perhaps. So a tough play now, 3rd and very short, deep in their own territory. The Tigers looking for that first down of the afternoon.
Well, this is the type of play where I think they're going to have to go up the middle and with their big fullback, David Rata. But it might not be bad if they toss one. If Brendan Hare, if the coach Peter Cadrupa has some courage, and takes a real chance. What? Oh, is that a fumble in the play?
Hare was keeping the ball on the quarterback sneak, and it looked as if there was a loose ball in the middle.
If he got the first down, didn't get it by much, Tim. Oh, they're going to measure again.
Measure it again, as it looked like a bit of a broken play, and the ball doesn't look as if it's much farther along.
Well, it didn't have
to go far.
About 3 inches, as we saw on the TV replay.
Trying to get a look at it as they mark it off.
Fourth down.
And it will be just about the same spot. Actually, judging by the official's estimation, it looks like he lost an inch or two.
Well, now we have a fourth down. Deep in your own territory, do you kick? My advice to the Newton North team is you better kick it. Get it out of that. What do we have here?
The official's calling a timeout.
Because you're gone.
Somebody has just been ejected from the sidelines.
I guess it's a little bit of a heckler on the sideline. Probably was complaining about the call. Should have gone toward Newton, but the referee wisely nipped it in the bud. Told the boy to get the fellow to get back into the stands, and I guess he is in the stands. And
he's back behind the fence there. Newton will call a timeout. I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but this gentleman was standing on the sidelines, and all we heard was the official tell him, "You're gone," and he's gone, but he's still at the field. So the big play for Newton doesn't materialize. A bit of a broken play on the quarterback keeper. They don't get the big first down.
And they've yet to make their first down, and we have 3:05 remaining in the first period of play. Brockton's leading 6-0. Although the score is close, Brockton actually, to this point, has dominated the game on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. They're just coming back very strong to this point after that wonderful payback win of last Saturday against Leominster High School. And of course, they jumped up, by the way, Tim, into the #1 rankings in Eastern Massachusetts because they're up there for the simple reason they play a tougher schedule than any of the other teams, high school teams in Division I.
There are still several other undefeated teams, but, well, here we go. Peter Capitalupo elects to go for it on fourth and very short. No, the quick kick. And a good one. A good bounce on the line drive kick by Kevin Quinlan. And a flag flies in midfield as Rada exchanges words with Steve Marciano. But a good quick kick down to the 29-yard line. Actually, it was Ted Delicandro, who got that ball off.
Let's see what we have for a flag here. The referee is illegal block against Brockton.
That'll tack another few yards onto the Newton kick. That turns out to be a pretty wise call by Coach Capitalupo. 15 more yards will push the Boxers back to their own 14.
Well, they're 86 yards away from pay dirt with 2:52 remaining in the first period.
Since the penalty did come on the kick, it will still be 1st and 10 from the 14. They won't have much mileage to make up for the first down, but a long way to go for the end zone. Just inside the 15.
The Brockton offense, that 86 yards can be eaten up very, very quickly. Let's see what Coach Armin Palumbo has decided to do in this series. The third offensive series of the afternoon.
First one ended in a touchdown. The second one in an interception at the 4-yard line by David Quinn. And it is Zarinskis pitching out to Williams. Williams has the first down and bangs heads with Quinn. Still stays on his feet before being ridden down by Bowerly out near the 40-yard line. So very quickly that yardage is made up.
Speed, speed, speed. Adam Williams is has turned out to be an outstanding runner, as has Chris naturally and Anthony have the same.
Pickup of 22 on the play. Even 23 we could call it, as Adam Williams is out near the 50-yard mark on the day already on just 3 carries, and that's a big one, getting the Boxers the first down and out of a hole. And this is Campbell, or Comer, skidding through.
Anthony picked up about 5 yards. They're watching Anthony on every play. There's no question about it. And that could be what's helping Adam, although Adam doesn't need a lot of help. But the fact that they're keying on Anthony, it appears that they are, has helped spring Adam with his outstanding speed.
Williams was big on the first drive last week against Leominster. Picked up some good yardage in that one, and has been able to put on some pretty good performances when he's given the ball, sharing time in that backfield with Comer and Campbell. It is a gain of 5 for Comer and a 2nd and 5 with less than 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. Over the left side, Comer trips but gets the first down.
He's got enough for the first down. I'm quite sure of that. Yes, he does. He picked up about 6 on that. They needed about 5, so it's a first down for Brockton. They stopped the clock while they moved the chains. With 1:48 remaining in this first period, Brockton's leading 6-0.
Across to the 48-yard line.
Bob Zarinskas has the play from Coach Alan Colombo. This is the type of situation where Alan Colombo may decide just to throw it.
And he'll keep it on the option. Cuts back inside and is hit by 2 Newton defenders. One was Bauer,
Well,
and Dave Ledger the other.
Bobby picked up about 6 on that. So we have a 2nd and 4. And gee, I didn't like the way he was tackled. His legs sort of spread apart on that, and that could be. Obviously, he's okay. He's running around beautifully out there, but on a slippery turf, I wish Bobby would hand off more often. Not keep the ball as often as he does. I guess they can get the job done without his ball-carrying abilities. And
he's kept it 4 times today. Picked up 38 yards. And now Campbell busting one through to the 34-yard line, and another Brockton first down. They'll mark it at the 33, so it's a gain of 12.
Another first down. Brockton is driving. We're approaching the end of the first period here. The clock is moving with 38 seconds remaining. They'll get this play off and maybe another, depending on what type of play Coach Alan Colombo has called, and if the clock stops on an out of bounds or an incomplete pass or whatever.
And keeping it on the ground for Campbell again. Just tripped up from behind by Mike Rada, the linebacker.
With Brockton, Tim, we can see the pattern has been established already. It's only the first period, but Brockton's ground game doesn't appear as though it's going to be stopped unless they fumble or something of a negative nature occurs. The Brockton ground game right now is controlling this football game. The score is only 6-0, but Newton hasn't been in the game at all at this point.
Absolutely right, Charlie. It's the only thing that has kept the score where it is as we end the first quarter was that interception on an excellent defensive play by David Quinn when it appeared the Boxers were driving towards another.
So all weeks they have Brockton start at 2 o'clock, half an hour later.
The SATs this morning pushing this start back a half an hour, and Charlie has a busy day. Williams, who's been busy as well, trying to break outside, but Delicandro gets him, and 2 flags fly as Delicandro and Ledger make the hit. And since Adam was out there all on his own, I'm willing to bet it's
face mask. That'll be Brockton to help Brockton. Let's see if it's a 5 or a 15.
There's no gain on the play for Williams, but it's...
Well, it's inside the 30, Tim, so if it is a 15, they'll have to... Inadvertent face mask, a 5-yard penalty against Newton North on that run by Adam Williams.
So the Boxers get the first down at the 22-yard line of Newton, marching into the sun. A low November sun. Campbell to the right side, and again he is tripped up from behind several times today. The job has been done by Mike Rada.
Yeah.
Just as it appears the Boxer back would be heading out into open field, Rada makes the dive and picks up the leg tackle. But another big gainer for Chris Campbell, gain of 9 on the play.
Nice hole opened up there, Tim, between David Grine and Peter Giannakoulis. Good blocking. Except for that fine defensive play, Chris had a touchdown, but the hole was there, and the blocking was nice. If we could see that on replay, I don't know if we will or not, but it's just a good play. If you watch the game on Tuesday, you watch it again on Thursday, you'll catch that.
Second down and 1, 10 minutes to play in the first half. The Boxers marching relentlessly. Zarinskas, the pitch. And Williams cuts inside. Good move. Touchdown. Excellent move by Adam Williams.
That is as fine a run as you'll see. There's a fine block there, and I hope we catch you through the block on the replay, but Adam was on about the 3-yard line, and he just smelled end zone and just dove in. 12-0, Brockton, 9:50 remaining in the first half of football. And I don't know what Adams' totals are running the ball, but
we've got him at about 60 yards, and none more impressive than those 13.
That was a pretty run.
That block was excellent, but he also Adam also had to cut back in behind the blocker and made the good move, got himself into the end zone, and Butler will make it through, start a new streak.
Back to normal, Jimmy Butler.
Let's take another look at that play. It's definitely worth another view. As Adam Williams comes right towards you. Now watch him make this cut. There's Comer on the block, cuts back inside of Anthony Comer, and lunges towards the end zone. Adam Williams with the Boxer touchdown.
You know, knowing where the goal line is so important. And Adam saw it, he knew it. He made the lunge from about the 3-yard line. Of course, the instant that the ball crosses the goal line in possession, where are we going to get?
There's the higher view of it, so you can get to really appreciate the moves that Adam Williams made. Following the block of Comer, bang, there's the block, cuts back inside, and gets himself in.
Anthony just gave him a brush block and just kept him out of the play and allowed Adam to dive into that end zone. First kickoff for Brockton with the score 13-0, 9:50 remaining in the first half.
Again, Lewis, Ledger, and Quinn back for the Tigers, but it won't get to any of them. D'Alessandro will take it at the 28-yard line and be stopped there.
Is that Adam?
Never did. Leonard Reedus is down there again, we know.
Leonard Reedus. Adam Williams, who just scored that touchdown, was down there very quickly on the kickoff. It'll be a first down for Newton North. Their own territory, and let's call it the 29-yard line, I guess, or no, 27, or between the 27 and the 28.
Well, the Tigers still without a first down of their own. They came close at their own 15, third and very short. Failed to get the yardage, and so they continue to struggle, now trailing by 13 points. Hare wants to get it back quickly, looking outside for Ledger, and tripped up by Kogel.
Jeff Kogel continues to perform very admirably. That was an outstanding defensive play. It's just so nice. And now, at this point, Tim, with Brockton not only leading 13-0, but actually controlling the game, Newton, watch this play on replay.
Hare has been rolling out to that right side. Kogel took the chance, made the lunge.
And if Jeff didn't get him, Jimmy Butler was ready to attack.
Loss of 11 on the play. Back to the 16-yard line. It'll be second down and 21. And they'll go to the draw play. D'Alessandro gets a couple. About 3 on the play out to the 19-yard line.
Newton, at this point, doesn't look like a 5-2 team. I think the reason not looking like a 5-2 team because they're playing Brockton High School. They're nearly not a bad high school football team. But against this Brockton defense, and obviously the Brockton offense, they're just having an awful lot of difficulty getting untracked. And I certainly would not want to run against that defense of Anthony Lewis and Peter Giancoulis, Sean Bailey, Brian Kilsey, Jeff Kogel, Oscar Mercado, etc., etc.
They mark it just short of the 20-yard line. Third down and 17. Hare looking long for Ledger. Williams on the coverage, and Williams almost intercepted that ball.
Good defense. Adam Williams had the ball in his sights all the way. There was no way that pass was going to be completed. The only question mark was Adam going to be able to intercept it or not? At this point, he was unable. He was falling down. However, he did prevent it. We have a third and very, very long for Newton North in their own territory, and you have to use that word predictable again, Tim. Their offense now is almost completely predictable.
Well, Hare threw it good 30 yards downfield, and Williams on the excellent coverage. And they're forced back into the punting situation after the 3 and out. This one goes to Comer. Takes it at the 48, keeps it across the 50, trying to break outside, still skittering past and out to the 35-yard line of Newton. 17-yard return for Anthony Comer on the punt.
How did he pick up 17 yards when he should have made maybe 2? How does he do that? He's almost a magical type runner. I mean, he gives you a leg and takes it back and runs here and dodges there and dots here and... Whew. What a backfield. What an offensive backfield.
And also, Anthony's having an off day.
And what a defensive backfield. What a team, offensively and defensively. I don't want to single out any. Boy, full house backfield. Marciano split wide to the left.
And the call goes to Williams again. It's been his day. And Adam Williams to the 10-yard line. Gain of 25. inside the 10, in fact, knocked out of bounds by Quinn, who is the saving grace on this play.
Boy, they're running at Will. I don't know who Will is, but they're running right at him. It's the speed.
Good burst of speed by Adam Williams, coming right at you. Watch this and enjoy. And Quinn just does trip him up. To the 8-yard line, a gain of 27 on the play for Adam Williams. He is now up around the 87-yard mark, and we've still got 7.5 minutes to play here in the first half.
And you know, Tim, Brockton's done nothing fancy. It's about as basic a football game as you can imagine here today. There goes Anthony.
There goes Comer.
And he has a touchdown.
Touchdown.
He has a touchdown.
An 8-yard touchdown run.
17 for Anthony.
17th touchdown of the year to lead Division I in that category. And that was just right to the heart. Quick and painless. Two plays after the punt return.
And the assist to Peter Giannakoulis. Moved his man out beautifully. If he catches out on replay, Peter and Brian and David on that side just did a great job.
Butler to kick. And make it 2 in a row now for Jim.
How about, why don't we take 27 out of 28? I think that's, or is it 28 out of 29?
Yeah, but 28 out of 29 now for Jimmy Butler on the season. And here's the play. Nothing fancy. The fake to Campbell, and Chris does the blocking along the way as Anthony lunges in.
You know, with the blocking and the hole that wide, I think I could have scored that touchdown.
Well, the three in the backfield have spread out the scoring so far. Campbell, Williams, and Comer each with a rushing touchdown. And Adam Williams certainly had a lot to do with that drive. He's making his bid to say, hey, you know, don't forget about me when you talk about this team.
You cannot forget about Adam Williams. You know, Adam had a slight injury yesterday. I noticed his fingers are taped together on his right hand, and so he'll be okay, but he probably jammed it in practice or something. I'm sure that's not hurt him at all today.
Right down the middle goes the kick of Butler to the 10-yard line, and Lewis. Right up the middle goes the little guy, and he is out near the 30-yard line, returns at about 18 yards, and the Tigers feel like the wind gets a little colder and the sun gets a little dimmer as the afternoon wears on.
Well, the score is 20-0 in favor of Brockton. 7:15 remaining in the first half, and Newton North just has not done anything to impress us here this afternoon. Brockton has done everything defensively and offensively to impress anybody that's watching this game.
On the draw play, Lewis runs into his own deep offensive lineman before picking up a couple of yards. Bertarelli, Reedus, Lewis on the hit.
They're not going to run against Brockton, and it looks like they're going to have difficulty passing against Brockton, and I don't know how they're going to score against Brockton, let alone win this football game. Brockton now is a 20-point lead. I don't want to predict a win this early in the game, but Newton has done nothing to this point to show us that they may...
You've got to get a first down before you can get a touchdown. Leap by Jeff Kogel to try to get in front of that one, but the pass is completed. The first completion of the day out to David Quinn. Marciano on the very quick tackle, so it'll still be short of the first down.
That's another plus for the Brockton defense. Although sometimes passes are completed and boys break beyond the line of scrimmage, the speed, the outstanding speed of the Brockton secondary, it almost negates any possibility of a long touchdown play.
Third and a short 3 for the Tigers, still looking for that first down. The flag flies out to the flat, and Ledger can't hang on. He was open, and he had the first down yardage. We'll see what the penalty marker was for.
We have a flag in the play, and while we're waiting for the referee to tell us what happened on the play, well, here he is. He's giving us a signal.
Offsides in the boxers, so the Tigers get their first down with a little help.
You know, that last play that we just watched on the field, that incomplete pass by Newton, it should have been completed. Number 80, Mr. Ledger, I believe, Richie Ledger, should have had it, and the Brockton receivers would have caught that and picked up some yardage, although they had picked up the first down on the penalty. That is the difference between a good football team, or I would say an outstanding football team like Brockton, and another football team. Those plays would be completed if, say, it was Anthony Comer or Chris Campbell or Stephen Marciano or Jay Bursey on the receiving end of that pass.
Tough break for Brendan Hare, who's thrown a couple of good passes that should have been caught. Throws again. Again, it's Ledger, and he is out of bounds. He gave a little shove to Jim Butler just before the ball came down. took Jimmy right out of the play, and Ledger could only catch it out of bounds.
If we're going to catch that on replay, let's see if that looked a little bit illegal to me.
Just a tad, perhaps.
Yeah,
Let's see if we can get a shot at it here. Butler and Ledger, step for step, down the sideline, and see if you pick it up as the ball comes down. No, you won't see it, but Jimmy was just nudged out of the play a bit. As we said, the pass thrown out of bounds. It'll be a 2nd and 10 from the 41 for the Tigers.
They're going to have to pass because they can't run. Well,
there will be downed by Bailey.
Is that Bailey?
He just about had time to look upfield.
Number 77 and ready to assist in case anything went wrong with John, with Jeff Kogel, number 71.
And Bursey was there as well to follow up the play. John Bailey just about gave Brandon Hare time to look upfield, sets his feet, and look out. Here comes 77. Loss of 7 on the play. So following their initial first down of the afternoon, the Tigers take a big step backwards and now are faced with a 3rd and 17 from the 34-yard line.
Very long. Has to be a pass play. And this will where Brockton offense.
But it probably won't. It's not. Lewis gets the call. Again, the draw play on 3rd and long. And again, it doesn't work. A gain of 2 and the 4th down situation now for the Tigers.
I think Coach Capodilupo is getting, I don't want to use the word desperate, but on 3rd and 17 against Brockton, and you call a draw play, he's saying to himself, well, at least it wasn't intercepted.
Yeah.
I think that's the only logic I can come up with.
Silver lining in that cloud. Quinn to punt. Comer and Marciano back. And it'll head towards Anthony Comer. Floats towards him, but then takes a bounce and is allowed to stop by Newton at the 36-yard line of Brockton. So no return on the punt, and the Boxers have a 1st and 10 from the 36. 4:31 to play in the first half. Brockton on top, 20-0. A gain of 2 and the 4th down situation now for the Tigers.
I think Coach Capodilupo is getting, I don't want to use the word desperate, but on 3rd and 17 against Brockton, and you call a draw play, he's saying to himself, well, at least it wasn't intercepted.
Yeah.
I think that's the only logic I can come up with.
Silver lining in that cloud. Quinn to punt. Comer and Marciano back. And it'll head towards Anthony Comer. Floats towards him, but then takes a bounce and is allowed to stop by Newton at the 36-yard line of Brockton. So no return on the punt, and the Boxers have a 1st and 10 from the 36. 4:31 to play in the first half. Brockton on top, 20-0. Touchdowns by Chris Campbell, Adam Williams, and Anthony Comer, the scoring for the Boxers.
You know, on that punt, that was very heady. Some football players at punt return to the safety men would have tried to catch that on the fly, but you know, it seems that Anthony's instinct, as well as the rest of some of the other backs on the Brockton team, is he knows what's going to happen. The ball bounced dead. He had the breeze. It wasn't going to go beyond him. He just said, hey, let's take the ball right here on the 35 or 36-yard line and go for the touchdown from here. I think it's just good thinking.
Zariskis thinks about throwing it. Looking for Marciano, who's wide open, but the ball is overthrown.
Just too strong. Good play. Good play selection, but too much strength with Bobby Zariskis. I think the wind, the slight breeze that we have here, lifted that up.
It may have, because before Bobby actually released the ball, Quinn had fallen down, and Marciano was all alone. He could have walked into the end zone, but the ball out of his reach, and a 2nd and 10.
And we've got some nice pass protection by the Brockton offensive line. Bobby so far has had ample time to get his passes off. We had 1 interception, but the pass blocking up front, you know, Anthony Lewis, Tom Latimer, Brian Drukas, Peter Giannakoulis, David Brown. Good protection for Brockton's potentially all-scholastic quarterback, Bob Zariskis.
On the give to Campbell, and Campbell has the first down to midfield and still going. Chris Campbell with just Ledger to beat. Ledger gets him down at the 5-yard line.
Boy, isn't that a pretty run? Isn't that a pretty run? Chris Campbell, number 34. I mentioned the potentially all-scholastic quarterback, Bob Zariskis. Now you say potentially all-scholastic running back, Chris Campbell.
Here's the 59-yard run by Campbell. Breaks the tackle, and now it's just number 80 in the foot race, and Ledger, with his last bit of energy, drags Chris down at the 5-yard line, 4-yard line. We'll call it a 60-yard run for Chris Campbell, who is over the 100-yard mark with 110 yards already. And he'll get the honors, but he'll come up a bit short.
Maybe 3. We're well inside the 5 now. Let's call it 2nd and goal on about the 2 is my vantage point here, maybe the 3-yard line.
They pick up 3 on the play.
Yeah, he's down about the 2-yard line. Let's see whose number Coach Alan Colombo calls on this play. Maybe he'll give it to Chris again.
Well, it would be the fitting thing to do when a guy picks up so much of the yardage. Let him pick up the points as well. He got one chance there. And it'll be Campbell again. No, Zarinskas on the keeper for the touchdown. Bob Zarinskas hangs on to it. And now the scoring has really been spread out among all 4 offensive backs. Bob Zarinskas with the score, and the Boxers lead 26-0.
Well, Tim, this is probably the earliest that I've said this throughout the season, but on God's earth, I don't see how Newton could even come close to winning this game, let alone win it. The Brockton team it's almost as though they're putting on a clinic out there on running, passing, blocking, defensive, offensive. I don't like to use the word toy because sometimes it can be demeaning, and I don't want to demean players for any team, especially these are all fine high school lads.
Efficient use of the field and the time and the ball that we've seen from the Boxers. So total domination here in the first half. A 27-point lead, and the one interception could have made it a 34-point lead had it not been for that interception, as Lewis returns it back across the 20-yard line. But truthfully, that's been the only mistake the Boxers have made, other than an offside call here or there. It's really been a clinic, as you said, Charlie.
Well, Brandon Hare is back in, a quarterback for Newton, and where do they go from here? 27-0. They can't run, and they're having an awful lot of difficulty passing. I don't know what they can do. And I don't think Coach Peter Capitalupo knows what he can do. He can just hope for the best, and maybe Brockton will miss a tackle downfield, or they'll let somebody get behind him for a long pass for a touchdown, but I just don't see it happening.
Well, if they are going to score, it may be against the shock troops, who we won't see. It won't be too long before we see those boys.
And with less than 3 minutes playing in the first half, running the ball against this Brockton defensive line is... I don't know. Is he trying to run out the clock and keep the score 27-0? I don't know, but...
Well, it's a question of it's a balance sheet, Charlie. I think Peter Capitalupo is aware that he's not going to beat this Brockton team. So where does it hurt more? To keep the ball on the ground and get stuffed back time after time, to put the ball in the air and risk an interception? Either way, the Boxers are going to take advantage of it. This time, Hare rolls to the left, and he has his man behind him, Delicandro, for a big gainer and a first down, the first legitimate first down of the afternoon, as Delicandro gets out near the 45-yard line.
Very hard tackle by Adam Williams. Nice tackle. Picked up the first down. Good pitch out by Brandon Hare. Kept it to the last possible moment. Pitched out, and it was a good run. It was a first down, but a nice tackle by Adam Williams. Made sure he knocked him out of bounds.
Ted Delicandro picks up the first down for the Tigers out to the 42-yard line. Their only previous first down had come on the 5-yard offside penalty on the Boxers, so this one feels good for the boys in white. And now they get nowhere on the next play.
They're not going to run against that defensive line. Anthony Lewis, Peter Giannakoulis, John Bailey, Brian Kilby, Jeff Cogell. I think it's Leonard Reed. Yeah, Leonard Reedus is in there in defensive end. Jimmy Bunker in the secondary, along with Anthony Coleman. Adam Williams, just such a, if I had to pick out a major strength for Brockton, I don't know what category I'd select. They just have major strengths everywhere.
Second down and 10, 1:41 to play. Ledger in motion on the near side, and the blitz on. Butler charging in, and Ledger is hit. Oh, and he's leveled by Marciano.
Pardon me while I decapitate somebody. Steven Marciano well, I won't say he destroyed him, but he leveled him with just a running forward with a forearm block. Let's watch this on
good
replay.
play by Hare, reading the blitz. There's Ledger in motion. Hare sees the blitz coming, dumps it out to Ledger, and if he got a bruise or a bump on that play, he wasn't about to let Steven Marciano see it. Got right up off the ground and back into the huddle, and is in motion again on this play. Looks like the same play. Hare looking to the right side, and off the shoulder of Quinn.
Oh, now that's another pass that I think the Brockton receivers, Tim, would have held on to.
And we're seeing Anthony Comer bending down. He's limping a bit as he came out of that play, holding that right calf or ankle.
And just a hint of a limp on number 20, Anthony Comer. He's getting back, and where Newton North is going to punt.
Formation. And Newton calls another timeout. I think maybe Quinn lost that ball in the sun. I mean, it was right in line with the sun. He turned around, had double coverage, and nobody really seemed to see the ball very well as it hit David Quinn in the shoulder pad and bounced down.
It's possible. And where it bounced up, it was almost, it could have been intercepted, but there was no Brockton player in the direct vicinity where the ball ricocheted from Quinn's shoulder. But let's watch Anthony Comer out there. I guess he's walking off his slight limp.
He's staying in there. There hasn't been any consideration of coming out of the game, apparently.
Well, there's 54 seconds remaining in the first half here, and they'll take a look at that, I'm sure. Jim Mackey, the trainer, will give that ankle a once-over. And with the score 27-0, I don't know how much more Anthony will be playing if he has any type of even a slightest injury with that ankle.
Well, he's back deep with Marciano at the 25-yard line of Brockton as Quinn will kick it away from his own 40. No, they fake. Lewis gets the call, and he'll get very little. Picks up a couple. Andrew Murphy on the tackle, and comes up short of the first down. Adam Williams was there to make the stop, too, and it'll be a Boxer ball.
That to me, that play selection, to me indicates one thing. Total respect for Steven Marciano and Anthony Comer as punt returners. We'll let them have the ball here, because if they get hold of the ball, they're going to run it back another 20 yards and maybe for a touchdown. That's how I interpret that type of strategy by the Newton North coaching staff.
So 1st and 10 for the Boxers from the Newton 48, and they'll go to the air. Marciano cuts back, and it is Williams that's down the right side, covered by Quinn. The ball thrown out of bounds. Clock stopped with 25 seconds to play.
Well, Bob Zarinskas has developed a strong throwing arm, and the last couple of passes, one was Steven Marciano down on the right side, was overthrown, and that one was overthrown. And of course, this is the type of game when you can overthrow occasionally with the score 27-0 in your favor. But the Brockton football team has a 2nd down and 10. They in about the 48-yard line of Newton North. Brian Drupas comes out over the ball.
25 seconds to play in the first half. Marciano and Williams split wide. The Boxers want to put something up. Throws to Bursey, and it's intercepted by Rata. A soft touch by Zarinskas was just out of the reach of Jay Bursey. Tapped it up like a volleyball set. And Mike Rata was there to pull it down. So the second interception of the day.
And that's the only category that they have out football Brockton is in pass interceptions. And they have 2. Brockton has 1, I believe. So they are beating Brockton in the pass interception department.
So with 17 seconds to play in the half, the Tigers take over at their own 35-yard line on the interception by Rata. Rata and Quinn have picked up the pickoffs. And in motion again, Ledger. He'll go over the middle again, but it is Quinn that's the intended receiver. Comer! Oh, he couldn't pull it down. Got both hands on it. It's one of those slow motion plays. If you're out there, you get the hands on the ball, and then as you're moving in slow motion, the ball is hanging, hovering, floating out there in front of you, and he just couldn't get the hands back.
Although Anthony timed his leap perfectly, it was a little bit too high. If he was a step or so back farther, he probably would have intercepted it. But it was a fine effort, a fine defensive effort by Anthony Comer, who is one of the fine all-round football players that Brockton has on its team this year.
10 seconds to play, and a flag flying. Hare dumps it out in the flat to Lewis as he's leveled by Kogel. And
well, there goes Derek. Mr. Fagone put the bear hug on him.
You know, Jeff Kogel may have gotten away with one there. He really flattened Brendan Hare, and the official had already turned to look at the receiver, Lewis, and it looked as if Hare was hoping for a roughing the passer call. But the penalty before the play will go against Newton. So the reception to Lewis will not stand, and it'll be marched off against the Tigers.
Five-yard penalty. Back in motion. Motion penalty against Newton. They'll have a second and, let's call it, oh, not call it, it is second and 15 with the last play of the first half coming up. 2 seconds on the clock.
And Adam Williams back at his own 20 as the safety back, as the center fielder, just in case the Tigers try to air it out. Hare will throw it short to Quinn, and Quinn just trying to keep the ball alive. He'll get knocked out of bounds by Butler and Murphy as the first half draws to a close, and it's been all Brockton. The Boxers marching out with some impressive running. 113 yards on the ground in the first half for Chris Campbell, 87 yards for Adam Williams, 40 for Bob Zerinskis, and another 20 from a gentleman named Comer. Each of them with a touchdown. Campbell, Williams, Comer, and Zerinskis on the ground, and Jimmy Butler with 3 extra points, 27-0. And if there was a flaw for the Boxers in that first half, it was the passing game. Only the one completion and the couple of interceptions, including the tipped ball. So statistically, anyway, that's a flaw on the Boxer attack, but a small one in this case.
But what we're watching an awesome display, as we have watched Saturday after Saturday, regardless of the opposition. Brockton having won 6 games thus far, and obviously, I say obviously, I don't want to sound overconfident, but I have to say that with the score 27-0, and I don't think Newton's got beyond the 50-yard line on any occasion.
Of my life, I've worked very hard to achieve many other goals throughout my life. I'm proud of the fact that I once set the national high school javelin record, that I was drafted to play professional baseball, and I've become a pretty good airplane pilot and skydiver. One thing is for sure, I couldn't have done these things if I'd been using gloves.
He faked it to Pinckney, who's got the rebound in between 4 people, and it's back out to Bird for another 3. No. Campbell on the board. He's...
I'm good.
Karina. We're at halftime at Marciano Stadium, the final Saturday game of the 1989 season, as the Boxers battle with their Suburban League rivals, the Newton North Tigers. But truthfully, it hasn't been much of a battle thus far. The Boxers doing everything they had to do in the early going, jumping out to this 27-0 lead, using all their tools, and at this point we just wonder how long it'll be before we see the hamburger squad.
Well, I don't know about that, Tim. You know, you mentioned using all their tools, but you know, they still have used most of their running game. They're throwing the ball a couple of times, and, but I would say that Coach Armin Colombo was playing pretty close to the vest. He has such wonderful running talent. You know, we keep talking about this, and I sound as though we're repeating the same thing, but it bears repeating, because a backfield of this explosiveness doesn't come along too often. Last year, we know we had Rudy and Donnell, and they're outstanding high school football players, and now they're both in college and doing very well. But the fact of the matter is the speed that this Brockton team has. Three backs that run like racehorses, and then Bob Zarinskas adding another running threat in the passing game, and Stephen Marciano, Jay Bursey, and occasionally Anthony Colm or Chris Campbell can catch a pass, or Adam Williams. But again, that's just the offense. Then you get on the defensive side of the ledger. What do you say? I mean, nobody's been able to run against him. DeMatha scored 2 quick touchdowns in the opening game, but then the defense sort of took the ball game over. And in the second half, DeMatha was impotent for all practical purposes. They couldn't accomplish much, and that's because of the defensive ability of the Brockton line up front, and of course the secondary, ball hawks, speedsters, and all. Well, we're getting ready for the second half kickoff. The ball game is, we know, he's looking at the scoreboard, is 27-0. Brockton is leading. I think, I don't know what stats you're keeping, Tim. Did Newton have more than one first down? They had 2 or 3 at the most.
They had 2, I believe. The one that they picked up on the running attack, and the one that came on the penalty.
And now to make a difficult situation worse, Newton is kicking off to Brockton, so they'll get the first possession in the second half of football.
That's right. You remember Brockton won the toss and elected to defer to the second half, and an onside kick by Mike Guzzi, and a little bit of trouble getting it back, and we may not have got it back. Newton did.
Oh,
Newton recovers the onside kick, and let's see who got it. Number 23 for Newton comes away with it. That's John Adams, the defensive end, who was there on special teams to pick up the ball. So the Tigers jumping out with a bit of a break for themselves.
Bit of a break. Caught Brockton napping, but you know, that's a type of situation when Brockton was caught in an onside kick. Of course, it brings back last year's Super Bowl when there were a couple of onside kicks by Dedham that were successful. But it teaches the boys for games coming up. We can never relax in any one play.
1st and 10 from the 46 of Brockton, and under pressure is Hare, tries to turn back the other way, and Bertarelli and Bailey with Kogel as the trailer gave him no choice.
God, the Brockton pass rush, and again, this is repetitious. But the second half, the quarterbacks for all of the opposing teams have a much more difficult time in the second half than they do in the first half. Whether the pass blockers for the opponents, in this case Newton North, are weakened by Brockton's up front defensive team. Just, you know, John Bailey, Peter Giannakoulis, Brian Kilsby, etc. They're just outstanding. And now they're going to try to run, and bingo.
3rd sack of the day on that last play. As a flag flies after the tackle. The 3rd sack of the day for the Boxers set the Tigers back 11 yards, but we've got a face mask call against Brockton, so the Tigers will make up at least some of their yardage on this play. They had a second down and 21.
Let's see if it's a 5 or 15 yarder, Tim.
It'll be 5. Inadvertent, so it will still be a long way to go for the Tigers.
Well, they get the benefit of the down over against second, and let's call it 15 or so, maybe 16, Tim. Again, we keep using that word predictable, but there's only one thing that Newton can do. They can throw the ball, and just about every pass will be almost a Hail Mary.
Hare, the quarterback, and he's looking to the wing. He's got Quinn out there in the option play as he's leveled again by Marciano and intercepted by Williams.
Yep, it's intercepted.
And David Quinn has not gotten up after that hit from Steve Marciano.
He was, you know, Steve Marciano is listed at 170 pounds, 175 pounds. I don't know if he's that heavy, but are we going to show this on replay, Tim?
Well, we'll see the play again.
For a while we're waiting for it, you know, for a boy that weighs 160, oh, here it comes.
We'll see the pass out here in the flat. Now watch this hit. Just about got the edge of it as we see downfield Adam Williams picking off the pass. Boxers with the ball at their 21-yard line, but Quinn is still down. And let's take another look at the play from a different angle to see if we can pick up that contact that was made by Marciano. Out to the flat. It's no secret what they're going to do. And there's the pass just as Quinn got rid of the ball.
Everybody knows that Stephen Marciano's uncle was a heavyweight champion of the world. And Rocky, who the stadium is named after, Tim, as we know, he fought at his best weight at 184 pounds. And they say Stephen weighed 175, and I don't know if that's accurate, but I'd say he was a little bit lighter than Rocky. But, you know, pound for pound, I had the pleasure of seeing Rocky fight many times, and had the honor of knowing him. And I think that it's possible that his nephew, Stephen, pound for pound, might be as tough as Rocky. And Rocky was one tough son of a gun. I'll tell you, anybody that ever know him, he was made of, well, I won't say steel, but granite and brick and everything like it. And that hit by Stephen on Mr. Quinn is, well, the result, the effect of his strength and his speed and his aggressiveness.
Well, nobody likes to see an injury.
We don't like to see an injury.
We certainly hope that Quinn is going to be up and about. Maybe he just got his cage rattled a bit by it.
Well, I think his wind was knocked out of him, Tim. But I want to mention here that it was a good, clean, hard hit. There was nothing, it was just as the pass was being thrown. It wasn't a late hit. It's just that Stephen is such an aggressive young man, and he hits with such impact.
Quinn being helped off the field now. He's up onto his haunches anyway, sitting up.
And of course, the interception by Adam Williams on the other end of that. Some people may say, well, that was two forward passes, but if you looked at it on replay, that was a backward pass to Quinn, and so he was able to throw the ball downfield with no problem.
And now the applause for David Quinn as he gets off the field under the assistance of one of the assistant coaches. Number 22 will at least take some time to get his senses back after that hit. You're right, there was a clean hit a second or so later, and it would have been a late hit, but there was nothing illegal about it.
Just rough, good, hard, rough football play. Played within the rules. Brockton has the ball, 1st and 10.
Right away, Comer breaks into the open field, and there is no one that's going to catch him.
He's gone to the races.
79 yards, no penalty markers, and Anthony Comer instantly puts the Boxers back on the board.
Well, you know, frustration has to take hold here on part of the Newton North football team. Anthony, who had just a so-so game for him in the first half, best out with an 80-yard or 79-yard run. Just a quick opener, give him the ball. He got by the linebacker, and once he gets by that fellow and someone's behind him, they just won't catch him. He just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened this year, and it certainly didn't happen on that play. Let's see what Jim Butler does if we go for 28 out of 29.
Jimmy Butler, whose consecutive extra point string was snapped on the first touchdown of the afternoon, has 3 straight now on the day, and the Boxers with a 34-0 lead. And we've a couple of times this year we've seen one of the Boxer backs break out into the open, and we've thought they're gone, and we're ready to say so, only to find someone was able to catch up and get a leg tackle or slow him down, knock him out of bounds. This time there was no question. As soon as he broke through that line, he was out of sight.
Once he was 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, nobody was going to catch Anthony Comer. If you ever get to a track meet here at Brockton High School, Anthony runs on the relay team, and he also runs the 220. But you see, the 220 is once around a track at top speed, and it's a pretty difficult event. And it seems when they get about 10 or 12 yards out, suddenly someone breaks out of the pack, and it's Anthony Comer. By the time they reach the finish line, he's usually about 15, 18 yards ahead of everybody else. Well, Brockton's kicking off. Jimmy Butler signaling to the referee. The ball is being made ready for play. And off we go.
They're speculating at halftime on how long it would take before the shock troops would make an appearance. As Newton's finally picking the ball up, Delicandro gets it and gets it out towards the 24-yard line before Chris Campbell puts the lick on him. But I wondered whether maybe the Boxers would go for one more opportunity to score for the first string. It didn't take long, so now we'll see who comes out the next time around as the Tigers go back on offense here.
Well,
another face mask penalty against the Boxers on the tackle. And another 5-yarder. Anthony Comer with that 79-yard run unofficially has 99 yards now on the day. So as Charlie said, Chris has over 110 or 113, and Adam Williams with 87 yards on the ground.
Talk about being the communistic theory, spreading the wealth around. We're doing it pretty.
David Quinn, by the way, we can see him here, received a cut on his chin on that hit from Steve Marciano and has had some stitches put in right there on the sidelines. No anesthetic necessary. I guess his chin was pretty numb already.
I guess it was. Well, they lost. That was a running play by Newton, and I think they lost a little bit, or maybe picked up. Now they're back. Let's call it a long 10. Shot 11. Second down. Newton has the ball, and what can they do? Honestly, I don't know. Well, we have a rather sparse crowd here this afternoon, and it's disappointing because this Brockton High School team should be viewed by as many people as possible. Of course, a lot of you are watching on cable right now.
On the option, Lewis, and there's just no tunnel there for him to go through. Derek Fagone is there to make the stop. They had the play covered regardless of who got it. If Hare kept it or pitched it out, they had the ground covered.
Mike Bertarelli, Stephen Massano was in there ready to assist. It's just that gang tackling.
Loss of 2 on the play. It'll be a 3rd down and 12 for the Tigers.
Passing situation, if they dare to pass. The last one was intercepted.
And Hare drops back. Nobody out there but Adam Williams. They'll call it a trap, and I believe they're right. Incomplete pass, and whoever was the intended receiver was not out where the ball was thrown.
Well, it was 4th and long, Tim. Let's watch this.
Awkwardly thrown ball over the head of any of the Newton receivers, and Adam Williams, they're looking for his second interception of the half.
That pass is of the wounded duck variety.
And with Quinn out of the lineup, Ledger is dropped back to punt, but he'll call a timeout. Quinn, 22, normally does the punting, and the job is turned over to Rich Ledger.
Did they only have 10 men on the field at that time? Because number 20 just ran in the game and nobody has come out, so apparently Newton only had 10 men on the field.
There's been no conference or anything either, so it appears that that was the problem. Marciano and Comer at their own 45-yard line with Ledger to kick from his own 20.
So you wait for another exciting punt return by this Brockton duo.
A high kick, but short. Marciano at the 45. Trying to get around the left side, and does to the 50. Bounced out of bounds at midfield.
I think they're going to throw a flag. No, they didn't. There was a little bit of a... Stephen was down on the ground, and a boy went over him, and somewhat unnecessary. I thought I saw the official reaching for his flag, but I guess he's reaching for his beanbag to mark the out-of-bounds spot. Needless to say, scores 34-0. 7:55 remaining in the 3rd period. Brockton has the ball, and they'll just stick to their ground game. Then I don't think they'll be throwing much.
No, the first play of the last drive, using the ground game, they went 79 yards for a touchdown. So there's not much they can do to stop the offense.
No, not with this. Of course, the attitude of the Newton North team is down now, and they're probably going to be missing tackle than normally would make.
Well, now Zarinskas to throw, looking for Marciano. He's open. He's got the ball.
There he goes.
And he's down at the 2-yard line. Ledger on the tackle.
Couldn't quite elude.
Marked down at the 4-yard line, a 45-yard pass play.
Very pretty play. Nice pass. Bob Zarinskas to Stephen Marciano. Again, another one of the arsenal of out of the weapon arsenal that Brockton has. Watch this on replay.
Bit of a surprise with the 34-point lead that the Boxers would go to the passing attack on 1st down. They do. They connect with Marciano long. and it's a 1st and goal from the 4-yard line of Newton. Bob Zirinskas has completed just 2 passes on the day, but that's a big one. Now has 58 yards, and now he'll throw it again. Marciano can't quite hang on.
Oh, that was Steve coming in from his wide receiver. He was split wide to the left. Just a little bit of hair behind him. Although Steven normally catches that type of a pass, but he just run quite a distance on that preceding play and might have been just a little bit tired. His hands weren't quite as quick as they normally are. But we have a 2nd and 10 for Brockton. They're on the... No, what do we have here?
The Boxer coaches really opening themselves up for a bit of criticism on this
The 2nd and goal,
possession.
I'm sorry. 2nd and goal here. What am I talking about?
With the huge lead and so much time still to play, going to the air twice in a row and make it 3 times. Zirinskas over the middle, touchdown Marciano.
Now, Bobby Zirinskas was determined to have Steven Marciano score a touchdown, and now I think everybody has scored, with except, well, Paul Jay hasn't scored yet, but I don't know. 30, that makes it 40, 6:55 remaining in the 3rd period here at Marciano Stadium. Brockton is just, they're a colorful team, they're a strong team, they're an exciting team, and they're very, very methodical. Today, talk about a surgical strike somewhere, they're just doing it. And Jimmy Butler lines up for kick number 4, and that looks good from here.
It is 41-0. The only missed opportunity really for the Boxers was the missed extra point by Jim Butler on the first touchdown, but he's been perfect ever since. And now you're right, just about every weapon in the offense has scored one. Comer, Campbell, Williams out of the backfield. Zirinskas has one, and Marciano on the pass. 4 yards from Bob Zirinskas. The Boxer lead just continues to bulge.
The Newton team is just, well, obviously they're down for their 3rd loss of the season.
You saw Steve Marciano indicate how open he was, and didn't take long to connect. So with 6:55 to play in the 3rd quarter, the Boxers have run out to the 41-0 lead, on their way to a 7-0 mark with just 2 games to play.
Yeah, this has just been no contest today at all, Tim. Newton hasn't been able to do anything with any consistency.
Lewis on the return, out to the 30-yard line, stopped there by a couple of black shirts.
Well, number 60 was the original player on that one.
Well, Patrick Murphy, I believe they've switched numbers on a couple of those players. We'll have to try to check that out. There's been a couple of number changes, and I want to make sure we give credit where credit is due. But
it's the first down for Newton, their own territory, about the 31-yard line, just over the 30-yard line. And let's see what they have to throw. They can't run, and frankly, they're having difficulty even passing the ball. The Brockton pass rush is so effective, so devastating.
Screen pass out to Lewis, tries to dance past his man and can't do it. I think that might have been Bertarelli out there. No, it was Troy Woods, 55.
Troy Woods is in that. He just attracted a horde of Brockton tacklers. Peter Giannakoulis is coming back in the game.
Giannakoulis back in. Fagone is in.
I don't want to make any predictions here, but I just don't see Newton doing anything it's going to even score, get 2-3 first downs, consecutive first downs.
Unfortunately, Charlie, we don't have the wherewithal to keep too much in the way of statistics. We can make an effort at running yardage and such, but I'd be surprised if Newton has accumulated more than 15 yards in total offense on the day, really.
Well,
they've been sacked 3 or 4 times, pushed, whatever gains they might have made have been negated by that. And this has really been a silenced offensive unit.
They just have been very, very ineffective is the only words, one of the only words I can use.
Short drop by Hare on the 3rd and 10 situation, and it is right through the arms, zipped through the arms of the intended receiver on the play for the Tigers. That was John Freitas, the split end.
Now we have another punting situation with Anthony Comer and Steven Marciano going back to receive the punt. Adam Williams is up front in the shallow spot.
Sun sinking down in the sky. This one did start a half an hour late, and in spite of the fact that the running game has been used so much, it's been a fairly long game, what with timeouts and an injury on the field and all the scoring for the Boxers. As Ledger gets off a good kick to Comer. He'll fake the give to Marciano. Tries to get up the middle, loses the ball as a flag flies. It looks as if David Grind jumped on it.
Well, let's see what the flag was for, Tim.
Just about the time that Anthony lost control of the ball was when the flag flew.
It might have been a clip on the part of a Brockton player, and I don't know who recovered. Can you determine who recovered that
I believe
ball?
David Grind did get on top of that. It was bouncing in front of him, and we've seen no indication that it would be Newton ball. But we await the official signal on the penalty.
There's the referee going to give us a signal.
It is a clip against Brockton.
If you have it on a replay, we might pick up the number. Be a 15-yard penalty against Brockton. Here we're going.
Good punt by Ledger, who you remember is not the first-string punter. And let's watch. Right about there as Anthony bumped into Mike Bertarelli, and that's when the ball popped loose. But it was just after that that the penalty was called. The clipping call, so the Boxers start off 1st and 10 from their 33 with 4:38 in the clock running. This is Williams.
Adam Williams. He's struggling for every yard.
He's still on his feet, still going. Williams
And he may.
has one man to beat.
And
He'll go!
He's gone, he's gone, he's gone. Adam Williams refused to be tackled.
No penalty markers on the play, and Williams has just gone 67 yards on a play that looked as if it would stop with 5.
Statistically speaking, oh me, oh my.
Adam Williams with a career day today. Unofficially 154 yards on the ground for Adam Williams, 2 touchdowns.
Well, here's Jim Butler lining up with Bobby Zimriskas on the hold. It puts it down, kicks, it looks good from here, and it is good. The score is now 48-0. We have 3:46. Well, the clock is moving, and the clock is supposed to be stopped. Are they trying to end this game sooner than they have to? The clock usually ends on a touchdown. Obviously, it didn't stop here. We're down to 3:35, 34, 33, and going.
It's been running since the change of possession, Charlie. I noticed that after the punt, the clock was still running.
Well, it's still running now. Nobody ever stopped the clock. I guess I don't know if it's obvious. It's being too obvious that they want to end this game, but don't be that obvious.
Well, this is definitely worth another look. Adam Williams on the carry. And how many tackles does this guy break? You pick him up here, still up, spun around, and breaks out into the open.
I counted 6 boys hit him, and that's the 7th. I could be wrong, but I think he broke. 7 boys had a shot at Adam, and he either ran through them, around them, or jumped over them or something.
Well, Williams becomes the second Boxer back on the afternoon with 2 touchdowns. Comer and Williams with 2 apiece. Campbell and Zerinskis and Marciano with 1 apiece. As Lewis takes it at his own 20. And Lewis across the 30-yard line down to 31. The clock continuing to run.
The clock has never stopped since Adams' touchdown run. It's hadn't stopped through the point after, lining up for the kickoff or the kick return.
I know it's a tactic that was used, Charlie, 2 years ago in Cambridge in a similar scored game when the officials decided in the second half to just let the thing go.
Well, in the old days, we used to keep the clock on the field, and nobody knew what we were doing, but this is pretty obvious. I guess they just told us to let it run.
48-0, inside of 2 minutes in the third quarter, and the Boxers controlling everything on this field. Hare looking out for Ledger on the coverage. Ooh, a little slip.
Good pass by Brandon, just a hair too long, but maybe it would have been an outstanding catch. But
Mike Levy was on the coverage and lost his footing as Ledger, the receiver, ran by. 2nd and 10.
See Tom Highland in there on defensive Brockton. Cesar Miranda. Oh, Michael Proya
Yeah, the shock troops are in.
Shock troops are in, doing their job, doing what they do well. Mopping up for Brockton in this very impressive 48-0 score here at Marciano Stadium. 1:40 and the clock is moving, even though that was an incomplete pass. Flag of play.
Penalty marker down as the carry goes across the 35-yard line, out close to the 37. Lewis on the carry. But we'll get the official's call. It's offsides on the Boxers.
Well, they stopped the clock for the penalty, Tim. That's something. 1:33 in the third period. They'll take the penalty, I believe. No, will they? They picked up about 7 yards in that play. Will he 2nd and 3?
You would think they'd take the penalty
1st and 5.
With the same down, but we'll see. It's refused. They'll take the yardage instead. A couple of extra yards on the play, so it'll be a 3rd down and 3 from the 37-yard line. And up the middle for the 1st down goes Lewis.
1st down for Newton. Well, this is excellent experience that the Brockton 2nd unit is receiving. Mark Newton is in on that play, and just a lot of things are learned by making mistakes. And the coaches will go over these films with the boys that are in there now, show them what they did wrong, and this will just improve their play, whether the balance of this year or of those who are coming back next season.
Right up the middle on the carry. That's Delicandro carrying the ball. 27, pickup of maybe a yard and a half.
Michael Dombrowski was in on that
play. Clock running with
and Jim Bailey,
35 seconds.
John Bailey's brother, Jim. The boys in there now want to show the coaches that they can do the job as well as some of the first stringers. And right now they're doing a pretty good job.
On the option, Hare keeps it. Woods hits him, and then coming up from the secondary on the play was George Fernandez to knock Hare out of bounds. Clock stops with 19 seconds to play.
In the 3rd period.
In the 3rd, that's right, with a 3rd down situation coming up.
Well, I thought that was an out-of-bounds play, but he wound the ball up. So this referee wants to get the game over with. It probably is more than Newton ball players and coaching staff. Well, that's the end of the 3rd period.
At least now we know that the officials are keeping the same time that the stadium clock operator is keeping. So the 3rd quarter comes to an end with a 48-0 Boxer lead. And the Hamburger squad, the shock troops, the 2nd unit on for the Boxers, trying to keep this Tiger team off the board.
Well, they're all in there. Joe McKernan is in there, and along with Jim Bailey, Troy Woods. I think that is Patrick Murphy, number 60. Danny Pettinato. Well, we have one more period of football, 11 minutes of football, but the way those officials are running the clock, we end up with about 3 minutes of
11
football.
quick minutes of football. What a day for the Boxer offense and defense today. Adam Williams exploding for better than 150 yards on the ground.
A total team effort. A total team effort.
You know, if Anthony Homer, my statistics could be off. It wouldn't surprise me in the least as Hare goes with the pass into the hands of Ledger, and he's had a tough day.
He's had a tough day. Again, I say that that's a type of pass that the Brockton receivers wouldn't drop, and that's the difference. You know, they've dropped. There's no way Newton could have won this game today. Please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But they could have made the game maybe a little bit closer, come within maybe 25 points of this Brockton team. And, however, they just don't have the natural talent that so many of the Brockton players seem to enjoy.
4th down and 3. The Tigers will go for it from the 49. They need to get to the 46 of Brockton. And Hare, a little backhand handoff to Lewis, and it works for the first down. Pick up a 5 on the play. Interesting little execution by the Tigers.
Was that Michael Dombrowski on that play? And Ricardo LaFontaine, number 60 and 75.
Clock running, 10:25 to go. Tigers trying to make it respectable if they can. Vince Simone on the carry, number 20.
You know, Brandon here is not a bad passer. In fact, he's a pretty effective passer. If they had caught and held on to some of his passes, he'd have a much better percentage. And I think at this stage, running against Brockton, even the Brockton shock troops, as we refer to them, is not doing any great damage, isn't putting too many yardage on their ground game. I would go, if I were Coach Capitolupa, to a few more passes, because they've got hopefully a couple of good receivers, and Brandon Hare seems to be a very adequate high school quarterback.
But they stick to the ground game as Lewis picks up about 3, and it'll be a 3rd and fairly long. So now they're forced into the passing situation. Tigers trying to make it respectable if they can. Vince Simone on the carry, number 20.
You know, Brandon here is not a bad passer. In fact, he's a pretty effective passer. If they had caught and held on to some of his passes, he'd have a much better percentage. And I think at this stage, running against Brockton, even the Brockton shock troops, as we refer to them, is not doing any great damage, isn't putting too many yardage on their ground game. I would go, if I were Coach Capitolupa, to a few more passes, because they've got hopefully a couple of good receivers, and Brandon Hare seems to be a very adequate high school quarterback.
But they stick to the ground game as Lewis picks up about 3, and it'll be a 3rd and fairly long. So now they're forced into the passing situation. Once again, Murphy there on the stop.
Well, you know, it's surprising. There's still a few people staying for the remainder of this football game. The outcome has never been in doubt, really, since the middle of the first period. But it's amazing how many people just stay and watch. And I can understand why they do stay, because we're watching, don't want to use the word machine, that's too professional, too commercial, I think, but we're watching an aggregation of high school football players in this Brockton team that, you know, the likes of which may not come our way again, not altogether, not for a while.
3rd and 3, back to pass, here comes the rush, gets it off to Delicandro, trying to get the first down, and he may not make it.
Pretty close.
Danny Pettinato on the coverage.
Good,
and he may have
tackle.
stopped Delicandro from the first down.
Pettinato, fine tackle.
Mike Levy was in on the rush on Hare and got to him, and Hare is still down.
And he picked up the first down. Let's watch Brandon.
As we see the play once again, Hare back to pass. Watch Levy from the far side. Here he comes, 46, just gets a piece of Hare, knocks him down. Didn't hit him that hard. He held up on him.
That hard. It didn't seem to.
Held up on him when he saw him get rid of the ball.
Well, Hare is up on his own strength.
There's another view. Dumps it off for Delicandro, and watch the hit by Pettinato. Good strong tackle. Couldn't quite stop Delicandro from making the first down, but a good effort on the 3rd down play. So it'll be 1st and 10 from the 33-yard line of Brockton. Deepest penetration of the game for the Tiger offense.
The clock is running, and that was an out-of-bounds play. So that shows you where the thinking is in this game. Let's get the game over with. It's 48-0 on the scoreboard, and
shadows are threatening to engulf the field.
Yeah, we had a half-hour later start this afternoon because of the SATs that so many of the boys had to take.
Delicandro in at quarterback as Hare had to come out for at least one play. And Pettinato again in on the tackle. Troy Woods also
was in on that tackle also. this is one chance that the shock troops get to show the coaches and maybe their friends in the stands that they're not as, maybe they should be first stringers.
Well, a lot of them will be come next season, so as we've said, invaluable experience. Delicandro still in at QB, and a questionable block on the left side, but Delicandro keeps it and gets her for the first down. George Fernandez on the hit. But another first down for the Tigers. Andrew Murphy got bumped from behind and knocked out of that play, but no flag. Clock running with 6:50 now, and the Tigers down to the Brockton 16-yard line. Again, the shock troops would just like to keep the Tigers off the board. That would be mission accomplished for them.
Well, you know, the clock usually stops on first downs in high school and college football, but that clock never stopped. It just kept going, and I don't think it'll stop even if they score a touchdown.
Using the time stops for no one theory. Simone dragged down from behind by LaFontaine. Nice play by number 75. And
Mercado, that's a nice
looked as
defensive
if
play.
Simone might break out into the open.
Nice tackle. He had touchdown. He had his eyes on touchdown.
Gain of a yard for Simone.
But
Second and
Mercado
9 from the 15.
said, not today. Not right now, anyway. They're inside the 10-yard line. I'm sorry, is that the 15-yard line?
Right about inside the 15. So a gain of a short 2 for Simone. Inside of 6 minutes to play. Delicandro still in. Hare is up and about on the sidelines. But Delicandro keeps taking the snaps, and Patrick Murphy, along with Jim Bailey, into the backfield to smother that attempt by Lewis and force the passing situation for Delicandro.
We'll have a 3rd and long situation. 3rd and maybe 10.
You know, David Quinn is the backup quarterback normally for the Tigers.
And
he is out after, in fact, he's not even ready for anything. He's got the helmet off, a baseball cap on his head, and some
See the
stitches
boy
in
that
his
was
chin.
leveled by Steven Marciano?
Exactly. He hasn't been back since then, and so Quinn taking the rest of the day off. Delicandro taking the snaps. He'll look to the left side, trying to get around the corner. Pettinato and Murphy will get him.
Andrew said, nope, not here. Danny said, nope, not here. So they both combined to make a fine tackle to bring up a 4th down situation. And all they can do is throw the ball.
Big play for the shock troops there. The 3rd and long situation, deep in Brockton territory, and the Tigers threatening to score for the first time today. Pettinato and Murphy wouldn't allow him around the corner as Delicandro tried to go. He will lead the troops out for a 4th and 9 now with 4.5 minutes to play.
So you don't make it on this first down here, this will be the last shot at it.
Looking for Ledger, and Delicandro, whose arm is probably a bit rusty at this point, misses, and the Boxers take over at the defense doing the job.
Let's take a look at that Brockton offense. I see a lot of nice, clean uniforms coming onto the field.
Shiny white numbers on those black jerseys.
Mike Levy for one.
Now, Mark Hartzell, of course, will be in at quarterback.
Joel McKernan.
He'll
Ryan
have
Nardelli.
Carl Donaldson in the backfield with him, along with Rashid Jones.
Lou Tarantino.
Levy will do the tight end work. Eddie Vega will snap the ball.
Eddie Vega, that's Joe Vega's brother. Joe, who played for Brockton several years ago. Outstanding football player.
And Newton forced to call a timeout as they had too many men on the field. So let's take that opportunity to make sure we don't miss anybody here. Lou Tarantino, we mentioned, in there on the line along with Patrick Murphy. Vega doing the centering of the ball. And the rest of the squad. The clock is stopped for this timeout with 4 minutes exactly left. Boxers lead 48-0. The final Saturday game. We'll take this opportunity to mention, too, and to blow off a little steam. We had been scheduled to handle all the Boxer games, including the road games. We went to Cambridge a couple of weeks ago for the game with the Warriors. But we have been told by the folks up at Cablevision of Brookline that they have, quote, exclusive rights to next Sunday's game as Rashid Jones carries for round 5. Exclusive rights to the telecasting of that Brookline football game from Brookline. Some reasoning and some logic was presented to them, but they weren't buying. So we won't be there. And it's really unfortunate, Charlie, just because in the cable industry these days where the franchises are all different companies all over the place, and you have these sorts of situations with football teams and other athletic events going on around the region, there's always been a spirit of cooperation. As the ball is lost, Jones couldn't hang on, and the Tigers will recover. David Ledger recovering, and Newton North with another chance with 3 minutes or so to play.
It's unfortunate, as you were saying, that you'd think the spirit of cooperation would prevail. Obviously, in this case, it doesn't.
Well, I can't tell you how many times in the past few years we have made our video available to a cable company from another town who comes down here. They don't have the resources or the equipment to bring the whole shoot match down, so they bring their announcers, they plug in and take the video shot by our fine camera crew and do their own commentary. There have been other occasions where a town will just take a copy of our tape, and that's what they want, and that's what we give them. But no one has ever been stopped from coming down here and filming the game, taping the game if they choose to. Brookline Cablevision has elected to do it differently. There is no competition, obviously. We're not going to be we wouldn't be showing the game to anybody that they would be showing it to. So I really don't understand the reasoning. But
it's a very illogical decision by them. And again, they have their reasons, but for the life of me, I can't imagine what they gained by this outside of being a little bit stubborn, I think is a word we can use. And again, it's not a commercial venture for either them or us here in Brockton. It's strictly something we do as a public service, but they make the rules, I guess, and there's nothing we can do about it.
I've never heard of such a thing. Oh. As the ball is thrown into the hands of Dan Pettinato.
Danny, when you watch that on film, you're going to feel very, very bad. That was a nice interception, almost, but the idea was make sure they don't score a touchdown, and you did make sure of that.
One of those situations where defensive back turns around, can't believe he sees the ball coming to him out there in the open, sort of freezes up the hands. So it'll be a second down, 3:01 to play. But truthfully, we've never come across a situation like that, and it's a shame, and we wanted to let you folks know, anybody that was unable to make it to the game for some reason on Sunday, and if that pass goes incomplete, you won't have the opportunity now to watch our coverage of it the following week. And so if you can make arrangements to get to Brookline, we certainly hope you would do it. Hope you would anyway, but now especially
that's a Sunday, and it's a noontime start. It's a very unique time of day to start a football game, but that's, again, everything seems to be illogical in that situation. Playing on Sunday instead of Saturday, I guess, I don't know what the reason is. Is it a religious thing?
Well, we've just been told now that the time of the start next week has been changed. It has been listed as a 12 o'clock game, but 1:30 is now the starting time.
Oh, good.
So
that's much better.
Be aware of that if you are planning to head to Brookline. It is a 1:30 start on Sunday the 12th. Simone on the carry, knocked out of bounds nicely by Mark Noon.
Well, do we do a 1:30 kickoff?
It is a 1:30 kickoff in Brookline on Sunday the 12th. We will, of course, be back for Thanksgiving, the 10 o'clock traditional breakfast matinee on Thanksgiving Day, right here, and we hope to see the good old-time Thanksgiving Day crowds like we saw with Leominster last week. Waltham is not the team that Leominster was, but it is still Thanksgiving Day. It is still that big rivalry. It is still the key game in determining who goes to the Super Bowl. So we hope to see you here.
Yeah, but the figures have all been determined by...
Delagando trying to break outside and is finally corralled from behind, and the flag flies. Troy Woods made the tackle.
Probably a late hit on the part of Brockton, but Billy Devon, the assistant coach of Brockton High School, and the defensive coach and head coach of the JV, who's the master mathematician on the staff, has determined conclusively that if Brockton is undefeated, there's no way that they won't be head the list, be number one in Eastern Massachusetts, so they'll be in the Super Bowl. So with this game under their belts, 48-0, or at least 48-0, I think that's probably the way it'll end up. Although it could be 48-6 now as I look at the ball resting on the 1-yard line of Brockton.
Well, there was a penalty on the play against the Boxers, so with about 2 minutes to play, the Tigers have 4 chances to get in from the 1-yard line and break the shutout. Delacandro holds on to it.
And he doesn't score on that play.
Doesn't get in there.
But anyway, Billy has it's figured out that no matter what happens the balance of the season, if Brockton wins their games, they will be in the postseason game. And things look very good for Brockton now. They've played their most difficult games. DeMatha of Maryland, Station of Long Island, Leominster, Xaverian was also a tough ball game. Nothing against Brookline or Waltham, but they probably don't fall into the same category quality-wise as either DeMatha or Leominster.
Delicandro loses the ball and gets it back, but short of the end line. It almost fell into the end zone.
Almost. We have the headlines and running in to see the referee. Well, we have a flag on the play, I guess.
Illegal procedure, so knocking on the door, the Tigers are sent back 5 yards now, and will have that much farther to go.
That sort of hurts their situation. I don't know the value of a penalty in a situation like this, except to help preserve Brockton shutout. Repeat the down. 1 minute and 10 seconds and counting.
You know, we talk about the Super Bowl ratings. If you're a newspaper watching, if you want to keep an eye on the other teams, a big game next Saturday, Walpole and Wellesley in a Bay State League game. Both of those teams undefeated, as Delicandro was stopped back at the 6-yard line on the third down play, and another flag flying. Wellesley and Walpole playing without their all-scholastic quarterback Todd Collins, who is out with the injured foot, may be back in time for Thanksgiving, but he won't be there when the two undefeated teams meet up. Wellesley is the higher rated team right now, but also Winchester and Woburn are up there in the top 5. So the chances are pretty good.
Woburn and Winchester play each other.
They will play each other.
One of them is going to go down the drain.
I'd say right now, Charlie, I'm not a gambling man, but I'd put even money that the Brockton would be playing somebody with a W.
Beautiful. Talk about your sure bets.
It's just worked out.
A timeout on the field.
It's a first down for the Tigers on the Brockton penalty. We're inside of a minute to play now, and the Tigers taking advantage of the yellow flags to move closer to the end zone. They've been back and forth to the 1-yard line a couple of times.
This is the type of situation where, short of pulling out a submachine gun, I don't think the officials should be calling too many flags. Let the procedures and the offside go. Get the game over with. You might prevent an injury. It's except it's something extremely obvious. They've had 3 flags in the last couple of minutes, at least to my recollection.
Delicandro runs into his back and throws in the direction of Ledger again, who can't hang on, and Delicandro thought he had his first touchdown pass there.
Well, that would have been an outstanding catch, but it was a catchable pass, but it would have been quite a reception had he been able to hold on to it.
Again, I don't know whether his hands are cold, but Rich Ledger has had a tough time squeezing the ball today. As you saw Delicandro nearly collide with Doug Leone in the backfield. So the clock does stop with 44 seconds to play. The officials have gone back to the more traditional method of timekeeping in the final couple of minutes here. Simone trying to break the plane and didn't make it. He got
1-yard line. He didn't make it, and the clock is moving at 36 and 35. Oh, the timeout on the field. Newton wants in the worst way to get on the scoreboard, and Brockton in the worst way. The shock troops want to stop them. They want to prove a point.
It was lost in the shuffle, but whoever got a hold of Vin Simone really clotheslined him and stopped his momentum instantly.
I see number 43 on the field, but he's not in our roster. I don't know who it is. Big, tall, strong-looking number 43 of Brockton. I'm sorry, we don't have his name on our program.
He's a big boy. Trying to find out who he is before.
Probably somebody's going to come back next year and be Jay Bursey or Chris Campbell. We just don't know. But he certainly is an impressive-looking young man.
Charlie Bergeron has a system that he uses on WBET. If there's a number listed on a roster but no name next to it, in other words, if it's blank, he uses the name Mike LeBlanc.
That's good.
To fill in when in doubt.
Charlie is quite innovative.
Well, when you're on the radio, who's going to know the difference, right?
Yep.
Simone trying to get in again and stop cold.
I don't think he made it. No, sir. He's still in the field to play.
Backed up by the center of the box on the defensive line.
Petnato was one of the players that made the stop. Somebody really stuck it to Vin Simone. And again,
well, this is the last play of the game coming up here.
4th down and the clock running with 10 seconds to play, so regardless of it, it will be the last play. Delicandro Simone, touchdown.
Touchdown to the last
With 1 second to play. And the Newton North band, the remaining fans, have something to cheer about at last.
Well, we have one more play, the point after attempt by Newton, and the score will be 48-6, 48-7, or 48-8. Brockton doing what everybody expected them to do today, win, but not so impressively. Not
really,
so
we
totally.
acknowledge the fact that Newton's victories had been against fairly weak teams, but still, if the team comes in at 5-2, you expect them to put some sort of an attack together, and even here against a very green second team, as the two-point conversion pass to Zach Holm is good. But the Tigers were completely shut down against the Boxer first string and pretty well shut down against the cold coming bench second string. They do finally get on the board on the Vince Simone run and the two-point conversion to Zach Holm. But there may have been only one team on the field this afternoon. The Boxers with the running attack of Comer, Campbell, and Williams, each near or above the 100-yard mark, and Bob Zarinskas adding 40 of his own. Comer 2 touchdowns, Williams 2 touchdowns, Campbell, Zarinskas, and Marciano a touchdown. Everybody pitching in, as has been the case all through the season for this Boxer team.
We call that balance, Jim. We call that balance. Offensive balance, defensive balance. They have the superlatives. We could come up with quite a few new ones, I guess, describing them, but they're just so dominant.
Absolutely dominant today. 48-8, the final score. The Boxers go to 7-0 and travel to Brookline on Sunday, the 12th, to take on the Indians, who I believe are still in second place in the Suburban League standings. That'll be the next one, and then back home here for Waltham on Thanksgiving Day. We'll be back for that one. We do hope you'll join us for it. For Bob Ritchie and our entire Continental Cablevision crew, and for Brockton Community Cable Television, who provided the funding, I'm Tim Cox for Charlie Petty. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, I was able